The F-1 visa explained. The F-1 visa is a non-immigrant visa that allows students to study in the United States for a defined, temporary amount of time. In order to qualify, a student must be studying at an academic institution, not training at a vocational school, as this will require an M1 visa. The student's academic institution must also be approved by the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, through the Student Exchange and Visitor Program, SPEV. Otherwise, it cannot accept foreign students. While on an F-1 visa, a student is able to work in the United States, although they will be limited to where they can work and the type of work. Additionally, F-1 students can bring their spouse and children to the United States through the F-2 visa, which is tied to their F-1 visa. Although their spouse will not be able to work, their children can enroll in schools. As we go more in depth, this guide will be broken down into 3 parts: visa eligibility, the F-1 visa process, and the interview. F-1 visa eligibility. The requirements for an F-1 visa are as follows. Apply and be accepted into a course of study at a SPEV-approved school. SPEV-approved schools are not limited to just universities. Be enrolled as a full-time student. Be proficient in English or be enrolled in courses leading to English proficiency. Have proof of sufficient financial funds to support your study in the U.S. Have ties to your home country that show intent to return after your study is complete. Live outside the U.S. when applying. The F-1 visa process. Once a SPEV-approved school accepts a student's enrollment, they'll be added to the Student and Exchange Visitor Information System, or SEVIS. Once a student has registered with SEVIS, they'll need to pay the I-901 fee. Currently, it's $350. The SPEV-approved school will then issue the student a Form I-20. This form is incredibly important as it confirms the student's acceptance into the school and therefore their eligibility for the F-1 visa. Once the I-20 has been issued, students will be able to apply at a U.S. embassy or consulate for their F-1 visa. In addition to the I-20, students must also complete DS-160. It's a pretty lengthy form, so be sure to set aside ample time to complete it. Once DS-160 is complete, students will need to schedule an interview at a U.S. embassy or consulate unless they're under the age of 13 or over the age of 80. Interviews should be scheduled in the U.S. embassy or consulate in the applicant's home country. Prior to the interview, students will be required to pay the $160 application fee, and depending on their nationality, will also need to pay an issuance fee. Lastly, if this is the student's first time applying for an F-1 visa, the visa can only be issued up to 120 days in advance of the start date for the course of study. This isn't the case for existing F-1 visas, as these can be issued at any time. The interview. When attending the F-1 visa interview, applicants should generally bring the following: an unexpired passport, valid for 6 months beyond the intended date of entry into the United States, Form DS-160 confirmation page, application fee payment receipt, a photo that conforms to U.S. State Department requirements, Form I-20. Applicants should also bring evidence of transcripts, diplomas, degrees, or certificates from schools they attended, standardized test scores required by the applicant's U.S. school, proof of ties to the home country, as well as proof of funds to support their study in the U.S. During the interview, the consular officer will ask questions to determine whether or not to approve the F-1 visa, so applicants should answer as completely and accurately as possible. Sometimes the officer will believe the application needs further administrative processing, but the officer should inform the applicant if this is required. Once the interview is complete, the applicant will be informed of the outcome and, if successful, will be issued a visa of study in the United States. For a deeper dive into the F-1 visa process, be sure to check the links in our description. And if you found this video helpful, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Boundless on YouTube. Thanks for watching.